This is my friend, Steve Hart, that I hope you're seeing on the screen. And he and I have been friends for a long time. In fact, for a while there, he was having meetings in my home. He was part of the meetings here in my home when I used to have meetings regularly before my family moved in. But we're just going to have a laid-back discussion right now, and I'm introducing you to my friend, Steve. And we may be doing other videos in the future if everything goes the way I'd like to be able to open up my channel to getting back to doing more interviews and conversations with people, because I think there's value in that. So Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm going to leave it wide open. Where would you like to jump in?
Well, first, I just want to say, I think we met, I've tried to figure it out, about 10 years ago. I knew about you before I met you because you're here locally. You know, people know who you are. You made yourself presence in the metaphysical community. And so you came to hear me speak once, and then you introduced yourself to me, and we had a discussion out in the parking lot, and you got my attention. And I think that was almost 10 years ago. And then after that, for almost 3 years, I was attending your Wednesday night meeting every week. It was amazing what we were learning during that period. We were all going through a lot of awakening as to what the truth was and what was going on. In between our discussions, you would have the videos you would play from other people and speakers, and it was just unbelievable what was happening in those 3 years. And we're talking, that was probably what, 5 or 6 years ago? I've lost track.
I've been in this house for 10 years, and I've been having meetings pretty much ever since I moved into this house.
I will say, I remember in probably 2008, somewhere in that period, 2009, when I was going through this awareness of what was going on, both in the spiritual shift we were going through, and yet at the same time, the truth behind the deceptions that we have been living in this world. And being very shaken up by the whole thing. I mean, I remember having discussions with people like Tony, our friend Tony, and saying, you know, man, what are we going to do? We were ready to go find a hole in a cave to crawl into, or find some community to go move to get out from away from all this, because we were pretty.
Our paradigms were being shaken.
Oh yeah, very much so. And I was trying to figure out what were we supposed to do, and Tony was too, and we all were just having discussion, even with you. And then over a period of maybe about a year there, Spirit began to reveal to all of us that it was just a matter of not where we were going physically, but rather where we were spiritually. And so I began to start focusing once again upon raising my awareness and my consciousness, and finding out what is the truth in all this, and how to bring about shift and this change. And that's been my theme ever since. And now here today, what I'm experiencing is completely different. I really feel like I've actually stepped out of the matrix, as in the movie, the Matrix, and live. Now I go in and out of the matrix. I've learned how to do that, and it's like a dance, and not being a slave to this system that's been placed on us here in this world, and learning how to be free from that. And so that's what I want to talk about. I mean, there's no way we can discuss all this today, but
no, and I hope to have many discussions with you and others too.
But I want to share my experiences about how I've done that, and what is really happening, what I'm experiencing right now. It's not all knowledge. I mean, the knowledge, it's important for us, as you have introduced to everybody on your viewers on your videos, is to become aware of these things. And it's important that we become aware. But when we still have our own heart and emotions and reactions to what we deal with this stuff, how we deal with it, because it can be very frightening to the earthly mind. Our mind doesn't understand only to fight and flight, and so we have to step out of that mentality into this new awareness, and that's where our freedom is, and that's where the transformation is going to take place. So anyway, that's what I'm experiencing, and I hope that your listeners can comprehend a little bit what I'm saying. I assume they are.
Like everything, some will and some won't.
Yeah.
That's
right.
always
well, not everybody, just like in the movie in The Matrix, Neo was ready to come out of the Matrix, and Morpheus understood that, and he came to get him and to convince him. And not everybody's ready to come out of the Matrix, and that's fine. And then some of us are just, even when in the movie, I keep referring to that movie because it was like a message to me. When Neo came out of the Matrix and Morpheus began to explain to him what the Matrix was, he still went through a period of denial and said, no, I won't accept this. This is not real. It can't be that this is what's happening. But that's exactly what we did. We did the exact same thing. We came out of the Matrix, and when we realized what it was, you felt like, wanting to either throw up, run away, die, fight, become violent, angry, because you were upset inside about what the truth was. And it was only in understanding who we are that the transformation begins to take place. Because once you've unplugged yourself from the Matrix, from the system, then you begin to start releasing. And the body has a way of naturally healing itself. It's both physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, all of it. If you release yourself from whatever it is that's holding you in bondage, or whatever it's inflicting pain or disease upon you, when you remove all that, the body naturally, and the mind and the spirit all naturally opens up and begins to heal itself. It's just a natural flow of life itself. That's the source energy that we all come from. But what we've been doing is we've been living in this, we've been living as slaves. We're enslaved to the system is what it was. And so we're beginning to understand that we can be free from that. But until you realize, first thing, I remember, here again, just that word slave. I remember watching several videos where it talked about how we had been indoctrinated and enslaved to believe certain things. And I had to ask myself, are you willing to let go of these beliefs before you can even begin to look at the possibilities? And that, for me, my pride was a big issue for me, to be able to let go of my pride and say, okay, maybe I was wrong. I remember having discussions like when Christopher Timms came over to your house and shared with us. I remember asking him some pretty deep questions about letting go and what is truth, and him sharing, how we see truth at different levels. And boy, because before then, I wanted to know the absolute truth. And that's what, both you and I come from a Christian background, and they teach that we can know the absolute truth. Well, the absolute truth exists, but I don't believe that in this form we can know absolute truth. We cannot, we are attached, connected to spirit, which gives us absolute truth. But as we evolve in our consciousness, we have various degrees of what that is. And boy, I'll tell you, from what I used to believe 10 years ago to what I believe now, oh my, I can't believe the difference. Yeah,
and as we go through different experiences, our perspective changes.
Yes.
I mean,
thank God.
You could look at my videos that I did before all these physical problems landed, and then the struggle that I've gone through since they've landed, because I didn't understand, why am I suffering like this? And sometimes there are no answers. So at
least it doesn't appear to at the time. You're right. I mean, let me just say this. I will say this one thing, because I don't want to run over time here, but the one thing that has made the biggest difference for me is connecting to my higher self, connecting to spirit. I refer my higher self as the Holy Spirit. That's what I think Jesus was referring to. It is my connection to the oneness, to the source of all things. And my higher self is constantly trying to, I'm turn this light on, constantly trying to speak to me. And the more I open up my heart and my mind to allow that to happen, the better I have a better understanding of, so what is truth? Because I can always ask the question, what is the truth in this? Whatever it is I think I'm experiencing, I ask spirit, what is the truth in this? And I've been surprised, and you'd be surprised at the answers you're going to get when you ask that question, because sometimes it's not what you think it is. And And sometimes, but you have to be open to the possibilities. Well, what is the truth in this? And then that's how we expand our consciousness, by being willing to ask the right questions and ask better questions.
And being willing to admit to ourselves that we were wrong about something.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But you know, when I say, but even that, sometimes we can feel guilty when you say I was wrong. Well, I usually like to say that's what served me at that time, but now that truth no longer serves me better. I'm going to let go of that. So once I have a belief system that I've been holding on to, that protected me and gave me what I wanted, when I realize that that's probably not really the truth, then I say it no longer is serving me. I let it go. And then I open up to the possibilities of what is the truth in that. And that's, every time I do that, I get further and further along in my spiritual awareness and who I am. And that right there, Ron, is, in my opinion, is this complete shift. That what I just explained to you, in my mind, is really what happens to us when we go through this awareness and through this huge spiritual shift that we've all been talking about. That's exciting to me. It's just that simple, you know, because I've learned to spend time in my meditations and spend time opening myself up and listening to my higher self, listening to spirit. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm laughing now because I'm remembering coming to you and asking you a lot of questions years ago about all this channeling that was going on and all this ET stuff that was going on, and how these people were talking to us and giving us these spiritual messages. And I'm not saying that it's all rubbish. I'm just saying I've learned to trust only in connecting to my higher self. I mean, I do listen to some of the channelers. I do listen to some of the people who are connecting to the ETs. But I really go to my heart and my mind through the Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, and connecting with that. That's where I get my confirmation. And you know, I mean, like I said, I do applaud what's been happening with some of the other people as they use spirit guides or whatever and connect with spirit in that way. But the only sure way I have a way of knowing, and you have a way of knowing, is that by connecting to the spirit you have, to the source, to God.
And so, you feel a resonance when that happens.
Yes. A
resonance there that's palpable.
Well, that's the other thing. Sometimes it's not even mentally understandable. It's only a heart issue, and but that is the resonance. And what happens is when our mind doesn't understand it, which it doesn't always understand it, our heart has a way of resonating with the truth and in revealing to our mind what is the truth. And that's what's awesome about it. That's why I think it's just the fact that it's we're capable of doing that. And yet people struggle. I'm finding, I mean, I do, you know, I'm a life coach, and I coach a lot of people and one-on-one and do work. I do workshops on what I call sensing consciousness. And I find the people struggling. It's almost as if they're hitting their head against the ceiling, and that's only because they're holding on to old belief systems. And it's a way of protecting themselves. They're defending themselves, and they have every right to. I think everybody has a right to defend themselves until you realize that you feel safe enough to open up and move on to better understanding as to who you are.
Yeah, well, I think that what we've just done today is a good way to set the stage for possible videos in the future, and because I think a lot of people are going through this struggle that we're. I mean, the answers don't come to us on a platter and says, "This is it, take it or leave it." You know, we have to work through the issues.
Well, I will say the answers do come through love. It's not a reprimand. There's no blame. There's no guilt. There is no punishment. People still are out there in the world believing they're being punished. It's not true. We feel victims because that's the way we perceive what's happening. And that's hard. That's tough when you feel like things are being done to you and you don't understand that things are being done for you to help you waken up. That's very difficult.
Indeed it is. Well, I don't know how you feel, but I think we've made a good introduction video.
Oh
yeah. And I'm looking forward. I'm hoping that the technology allows me to save this and to get it up on
awesome.
Facebook and YouTube and stuff. And we'll see how it is. I mean, it's a learning process for me. So
me too.
So I will keep communicating with you. But for now, let's say just thank you and thank God that we're being guided. And things are changing, although
yes, they are changing. Yeah,
not always as fast or in the way that we might expect.
Right, but that alone is love. Because if things were happening too fast, we wouldn't be able to handle it. But it's beautiful.
Well, thank you, Steve. I'm going to stop recording right now, and we'll look forward to the next time. So,
namaste.
Namaste.